Have you ever felt like life was going according to plan when suddenly something strange happens and everything changes? Imagine this on just another night in an apparently safe place where routine seemed to be the only certainty. Now, imagine that instead of a peaceful evening, you find yourself trapped in a game of dangers you never chose to play. That's exactly what happened to Cadence. All she wanted was to finish her shift at a quiet bar. Little did she know that, at that very moment, fate was preparing something much darker. We like to believe we are in control of our lives. But what happens when what seemed like an innocent interaction turns into something much bigger and more terrifying? Something that no one sees coming, yet slowly seeps into every detail of our routine. The idea of being safe is an illusion we all believe in at some point. But the truth is, we are all vulnerable at any given moment. And Cadence's story proves exactly that even the most ordinary nights can turn into a nightmare. What seemed like just another simple shift at the bar quickly became a fight for survival. And you? Are you prepared for the unexpected? What would you do when faced with something terrifying? The pieces don't fit logically. What Cadence did was something you would probably do too. She followed her instincts. But what if your instincts were the only thing you could rely on? Sometimes, our perception of security is far more fragile than we think. So, you may believe you're safe, but the real question is, are you? Let's dive deeper into this and understand how many times life throws us into situations where we must act fast or pay the price for our complacency. That night seemed just like any other. Cadence was working at the bar where the usual flow of truckers and locals was just part of the routine. But then a different man walked in and something fell off. He was too sophisticated for that place. His conversation, though polite, carried an undeniable hidden intent. He asked about her shifts, mentioned things like great opportunities, and hinted that they might meet again soon. There was something in his posture and words that didn't match the simplicity of the bar. He was watching more than he was talking, and that made Cadence feel uneasy. She wondered, was it just her imagination, or was he really there with some hidden agenda? That unsettling feeling stuck with her for a long time, like a nagging thought she couldn't shake. The tension in the air was palpable, but she forced herself to believe she was overreacting. Yet, when he finally left, the feeling that something was wrong only intensified. A few days later, the man returned. This time, he wasn't alone. He was with a woman. Their behavior seemed even more out of place. The woman complimented Cadence, but the conversation quickly turned strange when she invited her to join an exclusive club, promising big money and connections. The offer sounded tempting, but something about the woman's tone suggested she wasn't just offering a job. There was a far more dangerous game at play. Cadence tried to politely refuse, but the pressure was obvious. The woman insisted, suggesting she meet someone outside the bar. It was a direct, yet veiled threat, disguised as an opportunity. Cadence felt an increasing sense of danger, knowing she needed to distance herself. But what else was behind that proposal? Why did she feel so vulnerable? After that night, things only got worse. One night, as she left the bar, she noticed a car following her. At first, she tried to ignore it, but the car stayed behind her, always keeping its distance. The feeling of being hunted grew stronger. She decided to change her route and drove toward the nearest police station, but the car vanished as soon as she turned onto that street. When she returned to the bar, the man and woman were there again. This time, the sense of danger was overwhelming. Their methods seemed more calculated, more deliberate. She knew something was wrong. but all she could do was keep avoiding them. Each step she took felt like she was moving further away from safety. One night, after closing the bar, Cadence noticed a suspicious van parked nearby. She immediately felt that something was about to happen. Then, she saw masked figures approaching and realized she had lost control of the situation. Only when her boss suddenly appeared, the figures retreated, disappearing into the darkness. But the relief was short-lived. The fear of being watched and followed never left her. The police checked the security cameras and found footage of the masked figures and the van. But there were more questions than answers. Who were they? And why was she the target? The fear kept growing, but Cadence knew she had to keep fighting for her safety. The battle for survival had just begun. After everything that had happened, Cadence tried to return to normal life, but the fear never left her. One night at a gas station, a man approached, claiming his car had broken down. At first, it seemed like a regular request, but his keen gaze and the fact that another man was hiding in the back seat set off all of Cadence's alarms. The situation was about to become much more dangerous than she could have imagined. She tried to call the police discreetly, but the man noticed her intentions. The tension escalated, but luckily, she managed to take refuge inside the gas station store. The man knew that she knew, and the danger became even more real. The feeling of being hunted continued, and the fight for her life had never been more tangible. The police couldn't find many clues. The car the men were driving was traced as stolen, but no one came forward to claim it. The investigation seemed to stall, and once again, Cadence found herself alone, feeling like the situation was only getting worse. Every time she left her house, the fear of being followed and watched grew stronger. She didn't know what else could happen, but she knew her life would never be the same. The feeling of insecurity was constant, and as she tried to move forward, the fear that something worse was lurking continued to haunt her. And you, have you ever thought that simply following your daily routine could, at some point, put you in a situation you never chose to be in? If you want to understand more about how everyday situations can turn into nightmares and how to handle the unexpected, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Keep following our videos, because there's always more beneath the surface than we might imagine.